You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. What else we got here? Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Today, we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Paul Barron, the founder and CEO of The Wall Printer. And I got to say, before we get started, Paul, I don't know if you know this or not, but I had a printer repair company, and we'll call it a previous life. It was a while ago. So when I saw your company come across my desk, I'm like, I got to see what's going on here, because I had a hard enough time fixing printers that printed on paper. Printing on walls, I can imagine, is a whole new game. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, James. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your audience and introduce, for anybody who cares to listen, information about the wall printer. It is not a new technology. It's been around for about 15 years.
Wow.
But I brought it here to the United States as it was invented overseas. And I brought it here in 2019 late, started the business in 2020, basically with the mission to create business opportunities for people who are either into wall art and floor art, because we have floor printers as well as wall printers. But the overarching mission was to create business opportunities for people that either had some type of a business where this could add revenue and benefit them, or people looking for startup, an interesting new venture on something new and cool. They're willing to take the risk, if that's the right term, even though the business has been around for 15 years and has about 1,000 companies using wall printing machines. It was totally new in North America and South America, which are the markets that I service. And it is an interesting way to put wall art onto any wall surface, indoors or outdoors. Pretty cool machine.
Yeah, sounds cool. So I'm going to throw out a guess that the window we see behind you has been printed on that wall. Is that right?
So I never know if I'm talking to an audio only audience or if you have video.
We got both. Yeah.
But so for those that do have video, and for those who don't have video, I'll say just go to thewallprinter.com. That's our website. And that will 15 seconds on the website will tell you everything you need to know about what our machines do. But for those of you with video, yes, this is a cinder block wall in my warehouse in Wilmington, North Carolina. This is where we manufacture and test and deliver machines and prepare them for customers. And we ship throughout North and South America, as I mentioned earlier. But this particular wall art is done on a cinder block wall. So you can see also, I'm a little zoom challenged when I point. But
right, we all are. It's all good.
You could see the grout between the different sections of cinder block. So, and the reason I point to that is the wall doesn't have to be smooth. It just has to be vertical. We don't print on curved surfaces. This is not a replacement for vehicle wraps where you have artwork on cars and fenders and curved surfaces. It is designed for any wall surface. It could be cinder block, brick, wood, metal, tile, glass. There's no surface we won't print on as long as it's vertical. And then if it is horizontal, like a floor, we do have a floor printer that could print things like logo art or a company's logo or a sports team logo on a basketball court or somebody's personalized parking space in a garage. Then you would use the floor printer for that. But it's very high, resilient, brilliant color, UV inks, they're called, which are like an acrylic ink, very hard shell ink that dries instantly with our machines as it prints. And the machines are designed to print anywhere from small text to large murals. There's no limit to the height or no limit to the width you can get.
So we got a lot of ground to cover. We got the business side, and I want to talk to you about the technical side of the wall printer, because what you just described there with inks and stuff like that, you blow my mind a little bit from what I knew from.
Yeah. So again, and I apologize. I tend to drift into different areas.
No. You're all good. You're all good. We got a lot to cover because essentially this is what I would consider to be something new, even though it's 15 years old or something like that.
Yeah, there's only literally a handful, 5 companies in the world that manufacture these types of machines.
All right.
And there's 2 in China, 1 in Germany, 1 in Australia, and 1 in India. And when I first discovered this, I was actually approached by one of our competitors today, a German product. And no disrespect to anybody in your audience with German heritage. I drive a BMW. I cook with Henkel knives, which I think are the best in the world. I love my car, but just because something says made in Germany, I learn after doing my homework, I learned that that doesn't mean you should charge maybe twice or 3 times what something else of comparable value costs.
Sure.
Sometimes you get that value, sometimes you don't. In the wall printing game, I learned early on, after being approached by the German company to market their products here in North America, which is what I do. That's my background, is I take foreign companies' products that are interesting to me, and I help them find their audiences, vendors, partners, bring those companies to exit, usually, or to partnership with other US-based companies that might serve the audience and the product better by manufacturing here in the US or setting up offices here in the US. That's basically what I've done. And I usually did this on a commission sales job, but early on, years ago, I stopped doing that. And I only found interesting products that I was willing to invest in, that I was willing to put my money and mouth behind, as well as then encouraging other people to use these products for either their business, their service, their a way to either make money or to utilize these products. So when I found this product, or they found me, I couldn't make the deal with them, but I was intrigued by the product. I had never seen a vertical printing machine before. That's the generic name for these products. And so they wanted me, like all these other companies, to be a commission salesperson for them and bring their product to market. I wouldn't do that. I wanted to buy the company. I thought it was so interesting. But the conversation broke down. But then I said, let me take a look at this a little bit more closely. And usually when I say to my wife, and I'm in my home office and I'm surfing the internet like we're on today, and I say, hey, Maureen, my wife, come on, take a look at this. Rather than come into my office and take a look, what she usually does is cut up my credit cards and hides the bank account because she says, oh, here we go again. Paul's going to invest in something crazy. And so this time she looked at it and she was all in as I was. But we wanted to know, well, what's the best product to use if we're serious about this? So I did my homework. Same homework I ask my customers to do. Do your research, do your due diligence. So I went around and I looked at the other 4 companies besides the German company, as well as analyzed the German company's product. And I wanted to see what the differences were, what the opportunities were, what their customers were doing with it. Can, in fact, somebody make money with this machine? That was the first and most important question.
Yeah, right. That's a good one.
Then all the technical aspects, how reliable is it? What does it do that the other ones don't, and all this kind of stuff. And so after going through all this, and I'll try to shorten the story for the benefit of your audience, because I can get long-winded when I start talking. I basically found that this one product that I found from one manufacturer in China was the most feature-rich product. It did things that the other ones, including the German product, did not do. I was able to get it at half the price. So I was able to create a really good value and business opportunity for people. And we were able to engage with one another in a very strong relationship that guaranteed not only product and service and support for me as I needed it, but also the tools I would need that if down the road I wanted to actually manufacture these machines here in the United States, and have more control over the future availability of the products for the benefit of my customers, that I would be able to do this. And so this company ticked all the right boxes. It's been 3 years now. We went from 0 to right now we have about 110 customers. We are adding 1 to 2 new customers every single week who purchase a machine and or exclusive territory, because the thing about something new, I want people to be rewarded if they're willing to take the risk and be the first kids on the block, so to speak, to be a wall printer or a floor printer, depending on what machine they buy, if not both. And so we provide exclusive territory rights to people that allow them to service their markets without interference from us selling to other people. Because when people see these printers out there in the street, they're like advertisements. They're very cool to watch print a wall like you see behind me with artwork. And when they do print, people say, that looks interesting. Maybe I'd like to be in that business. But the ones that raise their hand first, they get exclusivity for their territory or area. We are not a franchise. We don't reach into people's pockets and take royalties like franchises do. We don't restrict them on the name of the product and how they market it. We just agree not to sell to anybody else within their territory. And they are obligated to purchase one printer initially and then more over time, depending on the size of their territory. And that
Okay.
size territory goes by population.
Then is the ink proprietary to the machine, or tell me about that?
So yes, so as much as I, like pretty much everybody else in the world who hates the fact that when Hewlett Packard, Epson, or Brother or Canon makes you buy ink from them, and there are remarketed inks that you can buy from other companies
Oh
that
yeah.
provide several inks, but if you know printing, like apparently you do have some experience with, I had absolutely none. So I learned the hard way by saying, can I get cheaper or different ink and put it into these printers? The answer is no, you cannot. The printers, the software, the technology, the component parts, our print heads, which are Japanese manufactured, they're the best print heads in the world. They come from either Epson or Ricoh, which are the two best companies that manufacture print heads for all sorts of printing machines, but specifically for the wall printing, vertical printing machines, these print heads require a very special kind of ink. Now, with that said, this also speaks to the relationship I have with the manufacturer of the machines. We actually manufacture our own inks here in the United States because we want to make sure I have a factory in Kansas and another one in Florida that manufactures inks to our specifications. And we went back and forth with the factory to assure the fact that the software, the hardware, everything interacts properly to make sure that these colors are reproduced faithfully to the digital image that was created by the artist or downloaded from the internet. Our machines require a vector image, meaning that if people are not familiar with that term, the difference between a vector image and, let's say, the photo you take on your phone. I could take a beautiful picture of my dogs and put that up on the wall, but it'll only enlarge to maybe 3 feet by 4 feet before it starts losing resolution and looking really badly. Pixelating, if that's a term that more people are comfortable with. But a vector image, when created, because that's a digitally created image, you can enlarge that to any size at all, and it'll still look beautiful and perfectly proportioned. And so those are the types of images our printer wants. It will print a JPEG, but a JPEG, as I said, will only enlarge so much. So a vector image is what we want. And those are readily available. You can download vector images from sites like shutterstock.com, or they could be created in Adobe Photoshop or Corel Draw, the tools of the trade of the graphics artist. And that's what our machine, thrives on. It takes a vector image, you put it on a USB stick, you put the USB stick into the USB port in our machine, then the software we provide takes over, imports the image, and prints it on a wall faithfully.
Does the wall itself, the wall you have behind you is white, so does the wall have to be white, or does the printer print white?
It's almost like, and I apologize to your audience that thinks I've prepared your questions, but that was a great one. And
well, that was a big deal when it came out on posters when Epson, I don't know if they were the first, but it came out where they could print with white ink, and that was like, whoa. So that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago, and I appreciate the question because that's what separates our printer from these other 4 in the world that I kicked the tires on before deciding on this particular machine. Our machine is the only printer, and I'm a co-owner with the patent, which is also very unusual for an American company to be a co-owner of a patent with a Chinese manufacturer. That speaks 2 things. Number one, to answer your question, we are the only vertical printing machine in the world that will apply white ink behind the image to allow it to print on a dark wall or on glass or on something where the inks will still, colors will pop out beautifully. Now in an image like, and the other half of that sentence before I get to this image and the white ink point you raised, is that it speaks to the relationship between me and the manufacturer. It's very rare that an American company will co-own a patent with a Chinese manufacturer, but it speaks to the relationship we have, as I insisted upon this feature being something that would separate us from the pack, so to speak, and allow us to really give value to our customers, as you enthusiastically mentioned. So a print like you see on the wall behind me, this wall was cinder block, which everybody knows is kind of comes out gray concrete. So it's primered over with white paint. The wall printer is not a wall painter. You don't paint big blocks of black or blue or white with the wall. You go ahead and you take a brush and a roller and you go ahead and you prepare the wall, whether it's wallboard or sheetrock or whatever. You prepare the wall first, and then you print your image. An image like this one, which has a lot of white in it in the window frame and in the molding around the windows and the clouds in the sky, there's no ink being used in this print. This print it's a 5-foot by 8-foot wall mural that has about $10 worth of ink in it. It's 40 square feet. There's about 15 to 25 cents per square foot is what the ink cost is in this. So it's about $10 total ink. However, if this was a blue wall or a black wall, then in Adobe Photoshop, which is the only application we don't give because it's readily available, you license a copy of Adobe Photoshop. Our customers are requested to do that. And you put that on the computer outside of our machine. And then it has a very simple feature to apply white behind the image. And so our machine will print white behind the image. So if this was a blue wall, this image would look exactly like what you and your audience are seeing today. Everything else would be blue, but the white would all be just as white as you're seeing it now, but it would be with a blue background that would not bleed through like these other printers would have. If these other printers had a black wall behind it, it would bleed through and these windows would not look pure white. With our printer, they look pure white.
Interesting.
And that raises the ink cost. If it's a blue wall and you're printing with white ink, it might make it 45 to 50 cents per square foot for total, as opposed to 25 cents if you add white to the mix.
Right. So then you're doubling or more so the cost.
Exactly.
Sure.
But our printers will print about 15 to 20 square feet per hour. So this 40 square foot print took about 2 hours to print. Typically, our customers charge their customers anywhere from $20 to $35 per square foot, depending on the wall and the preparation and other things that are involved. So something like that might cost a customer about $800 to put that on their wall.
Okay. Tell me about the texture, because cinder block's not exactly the smoothest thing in the world.
So this is an inkjet printer, basically a vertical inkjet printer that sprays ink out. So as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be smooth. It just has to be vertical. So in all those areas, our technology provides ultrasonic sensors which move the print head on what we call the z-axis. If you remember from your old algebra days, you had X and Y, Y being vertical, X being horizontal, and this also has Z, which goes horizontally in and out from the wall. So wherever there's a crevice, it automatically moves in, and where there's not a crevice, it moves out. Now, let me qualify this so your audience is really understanding and expectations are set properly. It is not designed to go around obstructions in the wall. So if it's a crevice like you see here, or if it's a recessed door or a garage door that has panels that might be recessed a half an inch or something, yes, it will move and fill that in so it'll still look like a beautiful image. But if there are obstructions like on a container, on a truck, or on a box container or something, even a light switch on a wall. If there was a light switch in the middle of this image on the wall, you would have to remove that light switch before printing it because it won't go around anything that's protruding from the wall.
All right.
So that's,
that makes sense.
A recess, no issues.
So the print head knows, it's got some sensor to know for the grout lines and all that in the cinder block, and knows to move that. Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah, it comes with two different types of technology on the print head, actually three. One is a positioning technology, which is a laser pointer, kind of similar to what a gun sight might have, where you, it's like an X that's in red and it shines out onto the wall, and that positions you where you want to start, or if you stop and you want to get back to the same spot, because these printers will do a continuous print, even if you stop or go away or go to the bathroom and you stop printing, or you want to stop and it's a big print and you come back the next day, you can pick up right where you left off. It's not like a paper jam in your desktop printer where you have to start all over again.
Yeah, wow.
It'll continually print where you stopped. But so that's the laser pointer. Then you have the two ultrasonic sensors. That's what moves the machine in and out horizontally to compensate for crevices in the wall or any type of slight obstructions. It'll print on a panel truck, for example, or like a trailer, that as long as the seams are relatively flat, it'll go around a rivet on the surface, but it just won't go around something that's protrudes like, a half inch or more from the surface of the surface.
All right.
And yeah, that's that. And then the third technology is the UV lamps, which cure the ink as it prints. The instant it passes over the image vertically, you could put your hands on it and it'll be dry to the touch. That's done with curing instantly with a UV heat lamp as it prints. The downside of that technology is that it results in the printer printing a little bit more slowly than some printers or paintings might do if you just have a brush and then you sit back and you wait for the paint to dry. This dries instantly, and the reason for that is we want you to be able to print on any surface at all, but you do sacrifice speed to some extent.
Sure.
Of course, this image here, 5 feet by 8 feet, 40 square feet, our printers printed 15 to 20 square feet per hour. It took about 2.5 hours to print this. But if it would take a painter probably a day and a half, 2 days to actually
Yeah,
do
it
this.
depends.
So it's fast, but it's not, it's not as fast as, let's say, your desktop printer or in a print shop, one of these $150,000 flatbed printers that are used for printing posters and poster board and signage
Yeah.
and vinyl stickers and things
I
like
was gonna
that.
say I fixed quite a few Epson banner printers back in my day. Now, granted, this is in the neighborhood of 10 years ago with the most recent, and they weren't exactly speed demons when you had the resolution bumped up.
Yeah, no, they're not. And also you're also very limited in size for those machines, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to ours that can move along a wall and there's really no limit. There's also no limit to the height, even though the machine is designed to fit inside of a standard US 8-foot room. The overall height of the machine from floor to ceiling, with the tracks or wheels that it comes on to propel it automatically left and right. The machine is designed, as I said, with a height of about 7 feet 10 inches. So it fits inside of an 8-foot ceiling room. However, it does come with a 1 meter extension. So if you don't have a ceiling issue or you're in a higher ceiling or outdoors, it'll print as much as 9 feet in image print height. But then there is no limit to the mural you could print. If you think for a moment about window washers on a skyscraper.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a window washer has a scaffold and they erect a scaffold and go up floor by floor, you could do the same thing with our wall printer. The technology that comes with our wall printer allows you to what we call stitch images, where one image ends, another image can start. So you can
Oh,
have
wow.
one big 50-foot tall overall mural. But of course, then you have the expense that you pass through to your customer, or
Sure.
that if I have end users listening to this broadcast, that you would have to pay for scaffold rental and the time it takes to do all that, and a forklift or a high-low that brings the machine up to each level. So it's an expensive project, not what I would say should be the first thing that a customer of mine takes on when they first get their wall printer.
Sure.
We call that an advanced skill, but the printer is perfectly capable of doing that.
How, just, I guess I want to talk about the mechanics of the printer itself, because this is fascinating to me. Because one, when I was working on machines, everything was printing horizontally because gravity came into play with the way that the ink was set up to spit out of the print head.
Correct.
And just, I mean, paper, it was a lot easier to print horizontally than it was vertically. So how are you attaching this machine or printer to the wall that's temporary, but still it's got to be strong or stable if it's printing that high up?
So there are two things you mentioned there. The one, which is the easy thing, the inks. The inks are gravity fed to the print head. And so that's the same in our printer as most other printers as well, even though there are motors that kind of draw the ink through at the very beginning for maintenance purposes to make sure that the inks are flowing properly through the print head. There are no clogs or anything like this. There's regular daily maintenance you need to use on these printers to make sure that the colors are all firing properly. Simple process, but it's part of that whole gravity fed issue of inks going through tubes in the print head to make sure they don't just sit there for days at a time and have the opportunity to clog up.
Right.
So there's that part of it mechanically. But then also when you have the inks and and the sensors that move the inks in and out from the wall, the walls do have to be level. So there's leveling that's required. These printers do not print on a big incline. If you want, because the motors are driving the horizontal, the X movement of the printer across the wall. And so you want to have a level picture, you want to have a level floor. And so there are tracks that come with the printer that can be leveled. Or if you have a perfectly flat wall, the printer also comes with wheels that will self-propel the machine across a vertical, perfectly flat concrete, wood flooring. If it's on outside on pebbles or grass or plush carpet, then you want to use the tracks to make sure that it moves consistently. But all of that is covered with the hardware you get with our machine.
All right. Tell me about the print heads themselves. I imagine those have to be replaced every once in a while.
So these are again not manufactured by us. They're manufactured by the Japanese print head companies like Epson or Ricoh. These are the world leaders in print heads for inkjet printing machines. Those are the types of print heads we use. They have a life expectancy for regular use of about 2 years. If you don't maintain them properly and they clog up beyond repair, you might have to replace them. They are, in fact, the single most expensive component of the machine. They cost about $1,225 to replace one of these print heads. But at the same time, we also provide in our delivery, in our package, when our customers get it, they get a backup print head included, because even if they do something or it's damaged for any reason at all, we want you to be able to continue printing. So we always give you a backup print head. And our machines come with a warranty that if there is a defective part, not because you don't maintain it properly, but because it's, whether it be a computer board, a pulley, a cable, or a print head, no matter what it is, that's covered under warranty.
Is there a separate print head for each color?
So with our printer, no.
Okay.
The Epson printhead has been designed. It's got like 140 or 170. I always get this confused. I think it's 140.
Yeah, just make up a number. It's all good.
Yeah, don't quote me on it, but it is either 140 or 170. That's the number of holes that the inks will travel through to print the image.
Mhm.
And so one printhead, based on the software, the way we've designed it, which is proprietary software, allows all those colors to mix properly through one printhead.
Okay.
Rico print heads are only for single colors.
Got it.
And so we are experimenting with them, but that really adds to the price of the machine. And we haven't discovered any quality or maintenance benefit yet to be able to utilize that versus what we've got. It may, by separating the inks out, require less maintenance, but that hasn't been proven yet to us.
Gotcha.
But we're constantly experimenting because we always want to have the best balance of print quality with speed of printing. But today, the Epson printheads will fire all the colors. The Rico printheads will not.
So back in my day, to be missing one of those 140, 170 jets on an inkjet printer was not out of the question.
That's correct.
And there were some machines that had the hardware and software that was smart enough to compensate for a missing jet, so that you wouldn't see the banding.
So you understand, great questions, and obviously shows your experience with this by just using a word like banding. And for your customers who don't, or customers, your audience that doesn't know what banding is, it means if the printhead is going up and down and it's going through a swath of an area of print, that you see kind of like a vertical loss of color, which can be caused by the movement of the machine if somebody bangs into it, or it can also be caused, as you mentioned, by the printhead losing some color through either a clog or through some other fault of the printing process. The way that we do it, of course, when you first start printing, you go through a print test, which actually you put a piece of paper, because this is not self-contained like your desktop printer. You physically take a piece of paper and hold it in front of the printhead, and the printhead moves up and down, and it presents you with those 5 color blocks, CMYK and white. So CMYK is the acronym for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and then white also. So you get 5 squares. And if those squares are fairly filled, doesn't have to be 100%, 100% is ideal, but sometimes you will get a hole, one of those 140 or 170 holes that aren't firing properly. So that square might have a little gap in it. But when the image is printing, unless you have a lot of those colors, a lot of those holes for the particular colors not firing, you will get a good image, because you compensate with quantity what you might lose out of an intermittent clog that might occur. But then, of course, if it's too much and colors are falling out or you're getting banding, then you stop and you go through a clean process, which then pushes ink through, or you go ahead and you draw inks through with a syringe that kind of pulls the inks through.
All right.
That relieves those clogs.
Yeah, I remember the vacuum pump that Epson's had, and they're cleaning.
Yeah,
oh my
and
gosh.
so the only difference between our printers and their printers is that theirs are more self-contained. And as opposed to having to take it apart, most of what you do with our print heads is external. You just go ahead and you take there's tubes that you can just stick a syringe in and kind of suck that ink through. As long as you don't, again, it's kind of a learned art on how to do it just enough to pull the inks through, but not too hard where you'll actually damage the print head.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Epsons, I can't tell you how many Epsons I ended up fixing, because that ink would end up in a spittoon. And then once that spittoon is full, that ink's got nowhere to go. So there's quite a few people that reached out to me and said, hey, I have a pile of ink on my desk and I don't know why.
Well, that I laugh, but while it can happen, it doesn't happen, because if you do the right maintenance and you use the clean procedures that are built into the machine, and also we do provide you with gloves, because some people don't. You might very well during the maintenance process get ink on your hands,
Sure.
or filling the inks. You might get them if you're not careful on how you go from the big 1 liter containers of ink we supply, because they're not self-contained cartridges like your desktop printer either, or bags like some printers have. This actually comes as loose ink in 1 liter containers, and our printers have 240 milliliter containers. So it 1 liter into the 240 milliliters. It's a process that, while can be done flawlessly and cleanly, often is not. And
All
so
right.
we, again, beyond the training we do provide with our printers, we do also provide those cautionary tools like gloves
Sure.
and a little bucket and bottles that you put underneath the printhead, so if ink does spill. And also we do encourage our customers to do practice printing at your location first on a piece of paper, to make sure the machines are firing properly and the image is printing the way your customer expects it to, so that before you go to that site, you don't do a lot of experimenting or setup or maintenance at the customer site. You do it back in your home turf, and then bring the printer to your customer. And
Yeah,
then do
you got the
printing there.
time, the space, and you can
Time,
probably
space,
say a
and you
couple
don't wanna
4-letter
make-
words without anybody getting excited while you're setting it up. Right?
Exactly.
So tell me, I guess from a business standpoint, who is purchasing? Do you use the word murals? I don't know what you call them. Prints?
So I'll answer you 2 different ways, because you kind of asked the question but gave an answer yourself of who our customers are.
Yeah.
So at the wall printer, we're in the business of selling, servicing, supporting the success of our customers who are business owners, who either have a business, like, as an example, a painter or a general contractor who knows the audience. They've gone in, they painted all the rooms eggshell white in a home or in an office, but they've learned who those customers are. They might have children. One is into sports, one is into Disney or action figures or characters, cartoon characters, whatever. And somebody else is into ocean scenes, and they want that on the wall. They want that kind of artwork. And so they learn who these are. So after going in and painting the walls, they now know they can add some more revenue by having learned who these customers are, offer up some kind of artwork to put on those walls. So those are very successful customers of ours that already have an existing business. Then there are customers who are just startups. They see this as just really new, innovative. They like being the first kid on the block, don't mind investing anywhere from $30,000 to whatever $1,000 they want for an exclusive territory in a machine. The machines start at $24,000, $25,000 and to about $29,000, depending on whether you have an exclusive territory or not, which is an additional fee. But without getting into that aspect of the business, to answer your question, their customers then can fall into any bucket of residential, commercial, schools, hospitals, medical offices, event spaces, airports. It really doesn't make any difference. There's no lacking walls in this country or any place else. Whether and again, who you market to might be determined by, do you have an existing business already, or do you have a customer audience you want to focus on? And so that's really our customers fall into any of those buckets, depending on, do they want to service residential markets? Do they want to service commercial markets, restaurants, schools, whatever? And they market to whoever they want to. We don't, as I mentioned earlier, we're not a franchise. We don't reach into the pockets of our customers for royalties or anything like that. It's their business. We actually put their name, their logo, their customer contact information of their website, their email address, their phone number. We actually print that on the printer themselves, on their customized cabinet, so that when they're out there with this printer, because unlike the print shop that just delivers finished product, signs or posters to people, we actually take these printers and go to the customer site. So people see these printers printing, and they work like advertisements for themselves. And most of our customers come from referrals, from people seeing it and saying, wow, that's pretty cool. I have a wall, or I know somebody who might like a wall printing. And once again, my long-winded way of answering your question.
No, it's all good. That's a very good answer. Tell me, how do you market your business to the people, your clients? How are people finding you? Because I imagine not everybody knows that this is a thing.
Well, so I'll answer that again in my my customary long-winded way. So I wasn't the sharpest tack in the pack when I created this business in November of 2019, received my first shipment of printers from the manufacturer, all in Chinese, all without any kind of real support training or anything else in December of 2019. And then, as we all know, in January of 2020, the world stopped with COVID and the pandemic. So here I sat with literally hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in creating this new business that I found so fascinating without the opportunity to tell anybody what it is or show anybody. And nobody was traveling to Wilmington, North Carolina to see the wall printer because nobody was traveling. So that was all the bad stuff. All the stuff that my wife, was coming back to me and saying, I told you so's. But I said, nope, I'm all in on this. This is going to end at some point. So where everybody else was laying off people, I started hiring people. And I started hiring the technical team to translate everything into our markets, which was English, Spanish, French, Canadian, Portuguese. These are all the markets that I service, North and South America. And I started hiring the salespeople and the marketing people. First, the marketing people. And so this now is the answer to your question. We've used social media to let people know about what this does. We were able to easily show short video clips and let people see what the machine does, so we can expose them to this in the quickest, least expensive way. And that's the same type of marketing we encourage our customers to use in their local markets to introduce this. Show people what they are, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok. These are all the tools that very quickly can get something into a market. In local markets, you can also, use obviously radio and billboards and direct mail and these types of tools. But I chose to use the social media because it was the least expensive way to get the most impressions out there as to what this technology is and could do. And so that's what we did. And we did it for 8 months before we got our first sale in August of 2020. Since then, we've added 1 to 2 wall printers every single week. And now we've got about 110 customers. And it's growing. And so we're really, really happy with the customers we're getting. We're learning as we go along as to who's successful and who's not. A lot of people raise their hand because they think this is really cool and they don't mind spending and investing, $30,000 in something, but maybe they should or should not be in the business because they're only doing this part-time. We want people to do this full-time, and if they're not going to be the ones to use the printer, the best customers that we have are those that see this as a business to buy multiple printers over a period of time, grow their markets, have people trained how to use these printers, and do the marketing and service and support of those customers. The best example of this printer being used day in and day out is going on right now as we speak in New York City, right on Madison Avenue. Louis Vuitton purchased one of our machines and is using that in an exhibit they have on 60th Street and Madison Avenue at an exhibition that is there until until December 31st. So it's only there for another 2 weeks now, a little bit more. But since October, it's been printing from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week in a window right on Madison Avenue of different images that reflect this exhibition they have, which is celebrating Louis Vuitton's 200th birthday. And it's been touring the world. And now it's 3 months in New York City, and they identified the wall printer as something they wanted to have right at the entrance to the exhibit on Madison Avenue, showing literally tens of thousands of people, plus it's free admission to this exhibit. It was a tribute to Louis Vuitton and to creativity and to art. And we've been printing day in and day out flawlessly for this exhibition. And it's the reason I mention this is really because it shows the quality of the machine and the capability of the machine, and the fact that the more it's used, the better it works. Kind of like the expression, race cars are meant to be driven.
Yeah.
These are commercial printing machines, and the more they're used, the better they will function for our customers. So get out and get customers and do a lot of printing. They'll be happy, you'll be happy.
It's interesting you say that, the whole use it or lose it thing, because I wonder if manufacturers of just about anything will put whatever their product, their widget, through crazy tests to make sure that it can survive, but they never just set it on a shelf for a year and see if it'll actually fire right back up after that.
Yeah, I mean, the worst, I mean, our machines will fire back up, but not if you just let it sit there with the inks in it. If you're going to go away, even for long weekends, or you want to take vacation and you're the
Mhm,
only one using this printer, which again, we discourage, get
mhm,
somebody out there. There's no lacking walls. You could be printing nonstop if you wanted to and getting jobs. But
mhm.
look, not every business is going to be fully occupied all the time. And if
Sure.
there are a period of days or weeks are going to go by that the printer's not being used, simply clean it out. It's an easy process. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. You clean out the machine with purified water, distilled water. You run it through after you pour out the inks back into the original containers, so you don't waste your money on the inks.
Mhm.
But you clean the machines out, then they can sit forever. And then when you're ready to start printing, you fill the cartridges with ink, you go through the original maintenance, and you're ready to go again.
Boom, ready to
But
go.
we have proven that if these machines are used, they will function the best.
All right. Tell me, I want to talk about the ink just really quick a little bit more
Sure.
because it's fascinating. Is it like these walls are outside, I imagine? So fading, anything like that? Are there issues there?
So if you were here at our studio here in our warehouse on the outs, this is an inside wall in my office.
Mhm.
Outside this building, we have 3 or 4 prints that we put on a wall that's actually south facing.
Oh,
So
wow.
it gets the afternoon sun. And in
Mhm.
Wilmington, North Carolina, our summer days, we get weeks of 100+ days. And right now we get nights and days that are in the 30 degrees. We don't get a lot of snow and a lot of freezing, but we get freezing temperatures. Not as much as you in Madison, Wisconsin, thankfully.
Lucky.
But we've gone through 3 hurricanes in the time that we've been open here since 2020. So we've gone through 3 hurricanes and 3 summers, and we have prints that are as good today as the day that they were printed. Now, we tell people to expect 2 to 3 years outdoors, 12 to 15 years indoors, where the inks won't fade, crack, or otherwise
Mhm.
deteriorate. But all of this does depend on the way you've applied it, on what the surface is, whether it's something absorbent, it's a little bit better than maybe something like glass, which requires different types of treatment and different types of preparation. And you can also protect the images with a polyurethane type of a spray or coating that will even give it more resilience. But yeah, it's rated by the ink manufacturers that way.
Mhm.
So it's not anything that, people could say, how can you say that's going to last 12 to 15 years? You've only been in business for 3 years. Well, that's because these inks are rated because they've been in business for decades. And
Mhm.
they know that these inks will hold up under these conditions in that manner. The printers themselves, though, should be stored at room temperature. So if you're not printing outdoors, and you can print outdoors in cold weather, the machines have a heating element that will keep the inks viscous and loose, so that they are fluid, so it'll work in the printers,
Mhm.
even in cold temperatures or very hot temperatures. But you don't want to really be printing in really freezing temperatures, more for your own good than the printers.
Yeah,
You don't
right.
want to be printing in direct sunlight, because sunlight is UV heat lamp. Well,
Mhm.
it's like a UV heat lamp because it's UV light, and our printers, the inks, cure with UV light being put on them from our printing machines. And so if you're printing in direct sunlight, you could overcook the ink, and that might cause the inks to buckle or deteriorate. So again, you want to cook in shade. If you're going to do an outdoor print in a very hot climate in Florida, maybe you want to print it at night. No different than common sense, when people fix roofs or do black topping of roads, you do it at night.
Yeah.
And you use the same kind of common sense with printing. Or
That's
you print indoors, no
sure.
lacking walls, like I keep saying.
There you go.
If the conditions aren't conducive, find conditions that are.
Tell me about, I guess printing on glass. That's pretty impressive alone right there.
Yeah, we've got a few examples of that here. Our door just coming into our showroom, which is the room adjacent to my office,
Mhm.
that has a glass door, and we have our TWP and our contact information, website, and all that, QR code all on the door there, on glass. And that's also an advantage of being able to print white behind the image, because
Mhm.
we can actually print on reverse. So we've actually printed on glass inside the door, but it shows outside
Oh,
brilliantly,
wow.
because you print in reverse the image, but outside you can see the image correctly, and it reads properly.
Huh.
But with the white applied behind it, it doesn't wash out from the light shining through the glass, and through the
Yeah, that
colors.
is.
So that's again an advantage of applying that white ink behind the colors. And but yeah, you can print on glass. Glass, the preparation for glass, unlike a wall here that you might primer it first. Glass, you wipe it down with alcohol. You make sure it's dry and free of dust, and then you can print on it.
That is slick, and you can't scratch it off or anything crazy like that.
No, you can, and if you want to remove the print because you get bored with it, or you want to go, you take a razor blade, and that's how you would get
Gotcha.
off of glass or tile or metal. Off of this, you could either primer right over it, and then print a new print. That's one way, or you could sandblast it off or pressure wash it off. Those are the ways to do it on other surfaces.
All right. Tell me about the floor printers. I guess we haven't talked about that. Is that more or less
Same
the
technology,
same, or is that
except it prints on a floor rather than a wall. And
same
that's
ink?
same ink, same technology, exactly.
All right. So we can take the feet all over it on a gym floor or something like that.
So in fact, the first company to purchase this machine, which we invented and created this machine and made it generally available early 2022. The first machine to buy it was a 100-year-old flooring company. And they found this machine because they would typically they had typical requests from customers because they would do a gym floor or they would do some outdoor patio for people, and or even interior foyer for an office building. And invariably they would want their logo or a sports team or something on that. Or they would resurface a garage and people wanted personalized parking spaces. And so they saw our machine and they wanted to see if this would be a replacement for that, the way they were doing it previously, which was very time and money consuming. And so very labor intensive. And so they not only came and looked at the machine, but they gave us some floor samples of their materials to print on, then took it back to their factory. And they have 5 factories throughout the United States. And as a real benefit to us, they did these abrasion tests like that you mentioned earlier. It simulated somebody walking or driving or running on these surfaces thousands and thousands of times or thousands of hours in a very short amount of time. Their machines would duplicate that wear and tear. And after it passed the tests that they had, they ended up buying a machine from us.
Wow.
So that was one of the best endorsements we could have had, because they provided testing with materials that we did not have the benefit of owning ourselves, that answered the very question you asked. And since then, we've sold 10 floor printers. 8 of them are to companies that were in the flooring business. 2 of them were people who wanted to just have a wall printer and floor printer and just have both machines when they started their business to be able to cover all areas and opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But the floor printer is a cool machine. It does. We have a couple of tapestries that we put, like a flying carpet we put on the floor in our warehouse here. That's been down for about a year now, and it's been driven over and walked on. You can coat those also, just like I described for an outdoor exterior wall printing. You can cover it over with, or seal the concrete first before applying it, and then to make sure that it's smooth and the inks will adhere properly. And then once you're finished, you could put an additional sealer coat on with a clear coat water-based polyurethane spray to give it extra resilience and coating, but all doable.
Can they print on blacktop?
You can print on blacktop. I'm trying to, and the reason I'm hesitating, I'm trying to think if we've done that.
Like I guess either way, I guess to me it doesn't matter, but it's just
There's
curiosity,
no surface
more or
you
less.
cannot print on, but I do not have the experience to say how it holds up on a blacktop.
Okay, because I mean it's oil based, whatever. I don't know if your inks are oil or water
They
based.
are oil based. Yes, they
Okay.
are. They
Okay.
give an acrylic kind of hard coat finish, just like an oil painting might on a canvas.
Gotcha. As I learned, I guess the hard way, that asphalt is not the most structurally sound material.
Because it is malleable, it moves. We've had customers come in with gym mats and things like that. So again, well, it's not apples to apples like asphalt and blacktopping surfaces,
Right.
but it is a malleable surface. And so some that with a very hard compressed gym mats work beautifully, but others that were very soft and the vinyl was very I guess soft is the best. The ink cracked.
Gotcha.
And once it dried, it cracked. even if it was, even if you put protective coating on,
Mhm.
still that flexibility was not conducive to this.
Right. I get it.
And this is not a direct to garment print. That's more what that application would be for. I won't
Sure.
say it's for asphalt. That might be just what they use today by painting, with different types of inks that are flexible.
Mhm.
And that's what would be required of this. And you can't use these types of variations of inks in our printer. We had other customers come in with discos. They had discos, meaning nightclubs, and
Okay.
they wanted to use a phosphorescent ink to be able to put on the walls
Oh,
in a
wow.
black lighting
That's
situation.
cool.
And that's a really cool idea and a great application. But of course, once you were to do that, if we were to find inks that would work with our print heads that were phosphorescent, you certainly couldn't swap back and forth the inks. That would be the only ink you'd be able to use. And we never went forward with testing it.
And when you replace the print heads, is the whole tube print head assembly, or is it just a print head itself?
It's a little print head that's like 2 inches by 3 inches.
Okay.
It's a metal object encased in plastic that then gets inserted, and there are ink dampers behind it that hold the inks that come
Gotcha.
through from gravity fed,
Yep.
as we mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
from the ink reservoirs into the ink dampers, and then into the ink itself,
Gotcha.
into
Okay.
the print head itself.
Yeah, I'm just, oh my gosh, I'm jogging my memory from I want to say it was an Epson machine. It was a poster printer essentially, where you could actually, I had a client that had 3 sets. It was a whole print head tube assembly, because it would switch between UV ink for outdoor stuff and other ink that had crazy neon colors, and
Yeah, that's
it was
like I was
interesting. The
describing with
whole
the phosphorescent.
assemblies that they're
Yeah.
changing.
No, you don't do that with this printer.
All right. It is interesting as well. You guys have CMYK in white. Versus, I don't know if any of these other printers have like light magenta, light cyan, stuff like that, or if they're all CMYK.
Okay, so now we're not talking about UV inks, and we actually haven't talked up to this point. We do have another whole line of printers that are water-based ink, which are only used for indoor surfaces and porous surfaces like
Okay.
wallboard or brick or cement. And the advantage of water-based ink, which does have light cyan, light magenta, those are water-based inks that dry in the air. And it takes a couple of hours for those to dry, just like paint would dry. The disadvantage is that the colors are not as brilliant as the oil-based colors. The disadvantage is that they don't dry instantly like with the UV lamps that dry the UV inks instantly as it's printing. The advantage of the water-based inks is that they print much quicker. So we actually have single, 2, and 4 head printers for water-based inks, which do not use white. You can only use CMYK with the water-based inks, so that you don't print, because you don't print on glass with them. You don't print. You can print on dark surfaces, but again, you don't get the benefit of the white behind it to pop out those inks. And the inks are a duller finish, like a matte finish, when you've printed them. But they print much faster. The single head printer prints at about 80 square feet per hour. The 2-head printer prints at about 200 square feet per hour. And the 4-head printer prints at about 350 to 400 square feet per hour. So you can print literally 10 to 20 times faster. So this image with a water-based ink printer that took 2 hours to print with the UV ink at 15 to 20 square feet per hour would print at about 10 to 15 minutes with a water-based ink printer.
Holy cow, that head is flying.
It would not look as bright. The colors would not be as bright as this.
Just like
so what we do tell people, though, if you've grown your business, you buy the UV ink printer first. And the main reason is because the results are more brilliant, and it doesn't eliminate any potential customer with any surface. You can print on any surface, indoors or outdoors, with the UV ink printers. But when you've grown your business, or you have a business that's only doing indoor printing and really large murals, like some customers they do event spaces, and they do really large murals in event spaces, or airports, gymnasiums at schools. If that's your market, then you might consider a water-based ink printer. All
right. Interesting. I suppose, especially at airport, if you're just printing an advertisement or something like that.
Yeah, and you're going to swap it out. You're going to primer over the wall and start again. That's a good example of how maybe a water-based ink printer might be beneficial.
Interesting. We don't have a ton of time left here, Paul. So I want to talk to you really quick about the business side. What do you see your business doing in the next, we'll call it 5 years?
Well,
Maybe
my
that's too
goal
long.
in the next 5 years is what it was when I started. I want to create 1,000 new businesses. That's the reason why. And
1,000.
when I say that, we're in a country here in the U.S., God willing, after the pandemic kind of subsides a bit and flu and everything else that's out there that hurts people, medically speaking. We don't have to get into the politics and to
Yeah,
the
right.
gun control and any of that kind of stuff. But hopefully there's still 300 million people here. And with 300 million, I looked at the US market, even though I also service Canada, which has a market of 25 million people, and every country in South America we service, and the Caribbean and Puerto Rico. So these are all markets we service. But looking at the US market of 300 million, I looked at it and I said, after doing a lot of research on how people were succeeding with this, with wall printing, I looked at a market of about 300,000 people. That's the exclusive territory minimum we provide to people for a fee of $10,000 to be the exclusive printer in a market of 300,000 people. So if my business grows the way that I want it to, and to answer your question, my goal in 5 years is to have, in the 5 to 10 year period, is to have 1,000 customers, 1,000 territories sold. And that 1,000 at 300,000 per territory, that's the 300 million people that are in the United States. That's the mathematical method to my madness of how I came up with those numbers.
All right.
We know that a territory of 300,000 people, properly marketed, will support 3 to 5 wall printing machines. And that's my business, to sell, service, and support our wall printers with growth in machine purchases. We obligate somebody to take a 300,000 territory population-wise, and we obligate them to purchase 3 machines over a 3-year period of time. 1 machine initially when they start their business, take 2 years without us selling to anybody else, purchase a second machine, and then purchase a third machine in your 3 years. And that's the end of all your obligations. And that territory is yours. We never sell it to anybody else. It's up to you how to grow that market. And we know that it can support that. So with that said, that's my business model and what I'm looking for in the future. Right now, after 2 years of just starting this and introducing it, as I mentioned earlier, we're selling about 1 to 2 every week. So next year we have 110 now in our first 2.5 years in business. Next year, I'm hoping to add another 100. My goal within the first 5 years is to have between 250 and 400 businesses, and then longer term, 1,000.
That is cool. That's impressive. Well, Paul, you're well on your way. It sounds like it. I mean, if you
we're enjoying it. We think our customers that use our machines, they didn't just buy it to put it in a closet somewhere. The ones that are really using the machines and making money are happy with the results. So are their customers who see the artwork that's being created by these machines. And the artists. It's helping them get their artwork onto walls a little bit faster, a little bit more reliably, allowing them to do what they do as graphics artists or artists. They create the images that they want to produce,
and they can
let
duplicate
all machines
it.
do it.
Yeah, it's repetitive. That's cool. Very impressive. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Paul.
Thank you, James. It was a pleasure talking with you and your audience.
Yeah, can you tell us just really quick, how can people find you?
Yeah, so I really don't want these. I hope people took out of this something more than just a wall printer. My background, I'm a mentor at the local university here in North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, and their Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. I do a lot of give back. I teach workshops at the college on sales and marketing. I really like helping companies grow. So if people want to reach out and connect with me, LinkedIn is the best way to do that. You can do a search for Paul Barron, and I'm sure you'll find me. Once you look at the profile, you'll see which one is me, I'm sure. If you do have an interest in the wall printer and want to learn more about it, just go to our website, thewallprinter.com. As I mentioned very early on in this conversation, 15 to 30 seconds on our website will show you videos and teach you all you need to know about it. But if you want to really move forward and learn more about the business opportunity, there's a contact us page. You fill out the form, we send you information. We arrange a Zoom call with you just like this to answer questions you have and talk about how you can be a wall printer in your local market.
That is cool. Impressive. I love what you got going on.
Thanks, James. Really appreciate this.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, share it, give it the big old thumbs up, and of course, comment with any questions or anything cool, pictures that you want to have printed on the wall. Man, the the limits are endless, right?
For all of us.
Trying
Thank
to
you.
think, man. You could have all kinds of cool pictures. The Ferrari in the garage, whatever. My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur and all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Paul Barron, the founder and CEO of The Wall Printer. Paul, can you tell us that website one more time?
thewallprinter.com, THE in front of it, thewallprinter.com gets you to our website, and Paul Barron gets you to me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Doesn't get easier than that. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.